Hey everyone, welcome back to Slow English Stories. I am Leo, your English teacher and your storyteller for today. Today we are going to listen to an incredible, deep story called Why You Must Talk in English Every Day. This story is beautiful, but it also carries a massive secret that will change how you practice your English forever. Before we start the story, let's do our important ritual. Turn off the television right now. Put your smartphone on Do Not Disturb mode and close all other apps. Drop whatever you are doing. Sit down and please put on your headphones right now. This is very important because it will block the outside noise, help you hear my clear pronunciation, and let you travel completely into the world of our story. Are you ready to discover the secret? Take a deep breath and let's begin. The stadium was completely frozen in a terrifying silence. 10,000 people sat in the massive arena, but nobody made a single sound. The air smelled like cold rain and expensive leather seats. A young man named Daniel stood directly under a bright, blinding spotlight. His hands were freezing, and his throat was completely dry. Daniel was in a state of absolute panic. The word panic means a sudden, uncontrollable feeling of great fear that stops you from thinking clearly. Notice the grammar structure in this sentence. Daniel stood under a spotlight. We use stood, which is the irregular past tense of the verb stand, because this entire narrative happened in the past. Daniel looked up at the enormous glass screen above his head. A huge digital clock was counting down 5 seconds, 4 seconds, 3 seconds. In front of him stood a panel of strict international judges. If Daniel did not speak now, if he did not explain his brilliant new technology idea in fluent English, he would lose his company, his money, and his entire future in exactly 3 seconds. But his lips were glued together, and his mind was a total blank. When your mind is a blank, it means it is completely empty, and you cannot remember or think of any words. Let's study a very important grammar point right here. If Daniel did not speak now, he would lose everything. This is a conditional sentence used in storytelling to show high stakes. We use the past tense did not speak in the first part, and would plus verb in the second part to talk about an imaginary or dangerous situation. Daniel looked at the crowd, and his heart pounded like a wild drum. He remembered a mysterious old notebook he found in a library 1 year ago, which carried a strange warning about this exact moment. Why was Daniel unable to speak? What was the secret inside that notebook? Exactly 12 months before this terrifying day, Daniel lived a completely different life. He worked in a tiny, quiet room that always smelled like strong mint tea and old books. He was a brilliant developer, and he spent all his time creating a piece of software that could change the world. He knew all the English grammar rules perfectly. He could read thick textbooks, and he practiced writing every single night. But Daniel had a major flaw. He was completely timid. My friends, the word timid means very shy, nervous, and lacking in self-confidence. Let's look at a vital grammar point here. Daniel used to hide in his room. We use the grammar structure used to when we describe a regular habit or state in the past that does not happen anymore. He used to avoid people because he was terrified of making mistakes. One rainy evening, while searching through a dusty box of old papers, he discovered a leather notebook with no author's name. On the very first page, written in faded red ink, was a shocking sentence. Knowledge without a voice is a dead treasure. Daniel did not understand its true meaning. He just thought his English was good enough because he could understand movies and pass written tests. This dangerous illusion is called complacency. The word complacency means a feeling of calm satisfaction with your current situation, which makes you stop trying to improve or work harder. For the grammar in this paragraph, notice this phrase: he spent all his time creating software. Remember, after the verb spend time, we always use a verb with ing, like spending time creating or spending time practicing. Daniel closed the notebook and smiled. He told himself, I don't need to speak English every day. I will just wait until my big presentation day, and then the words will come naturally. He did not know that a language is not like a file you save inside a computer. A language is a living muscle. If you do not move it, it becomes completely paralyzed. Months passed quickly like clouds in a stormy sky, and Daniel's mouth remained tightly shut. Now, let's go back to the stadium where the digital clock just hit 0. The head judge, a strict woman with sharp eyes, slowly leaned forward to her microphone. The judge's voice cut through the silent arena like a sharp knife. Time is up, she said coldly. The sound echoed off the concrete walls. To echo means when a sound hits a hard surface and comes back to your ears again and again. Daniel felt a cold sweat running down his back. The stakes were at their absolute peak. The silence in the room was so thick you could hear the quiet hum of the large cameras moving around the stage. The judges began to write on their papers, preparing to disqualify his project forever. Daniel stood there, completely paralyzed. The word paralyzed means unable to move or act because of extreme fear or physical illness. Let's look at a beautiful grammar point here. The silence was so thick that you could hear the cameras. We use the structure so plus adjective plus that to show a great result or effect. In his mind, Daniel suddenly remembered the rest of that mysterious red sentence from the leather notebook. Knowledge without a voice is a dead treasure, and a tongue that sleeps every day will forget how to sing. He realized his massive mistake. He had spent a whole year silently reading and writing, but because he never spoke English with his mouth every day, his vocal muscles and his brain were not connected. His fluency was locked inside a cage of his own silence. Suddenly, Daniel refused to let his dream die. He closed his eyes, ignored the thousands of staring faces, and did something completely spontaneous. The word spontaneous means doing something naturally and suddenly, without planning it before. He did not look for perfect grammar rules in his head. He just opened his mouth and began to speak from his heart. Let's study the grammar of this action. He began to speak. After the verb begin, you can use an infinitive with to, like to speak, or a verb with ing, like speaking. Both mean exactly the same thing. The first few words came out rough and broken, but as he kept pushing the air through his throat, something incredible started to happen in the arena. The deep silence shifted, and a new energy filled the air. As Daniel continued to push the air through his throat, the broken words slowly turned into a smooth, powerful river of speech. He stopped trying to translate from his native language in his head. Instead, his mouth moved naturally, guided by the raw emotion inside his chest. The judges slowly stopped writing and raised their heads. The atmosphere in the stadium transformed completely. It smelled like intense energy and pure conviction. The word conviction means a very strong, absolute belief in what you are saying or doing. Let's look at a powerful grammar point here. The more he spoke, the more confident he became. When we use the structure, the more plus comparative adjective clause, it shows that two things increase together at the exact same time. Daniel explained his software with incredible passion. He spoke about how it would help people, how it would create opportunities, and how it would change the future. He did not care about making small mistakes anymore. His only goal was to communicate his message. The words flowed out because he finally broke the wall of silence. The audience was completely captivated. The word captivated means holding someone's attention completely because you are incredibly interesting, beautiful, or powerful. Notice the grammar structure in this sentence. The audience was captivated. This is a passive voice sentence, which we use when the person or thing receiving the action is more important than the one doing it. When Daniel finally finished speaking, he took a deep, shaky breath and looked down. For 2 seconds there was absolute silence. Then a sudden sound like thunder exploded through the stadium. 10,000 people stood up at the same time, clapping their hands loudly and cheering for him. The strict judges were smiling and nodding their heads in complete approval. Daniel had won. He saved his business, and he achieved his ultimate dream. But as the blinding spotlights slowly faded into a soft, warm light, Daniel opened his eyes and realized something shocking about his surroundings. The blinding spotlights did not fade into a stadium hallway. Instead, they turned into the bright, warm rays of the morning sun shining directly through a bedroom window. Daniel sat up quickly in his bed, his heart still beating fast, and his face covered in sweat. There was no massive crowd, no international judges, and no digital clock hitting 0. He was completely alone in his own room, which smelled like fresh morning coffee and sweet air. It had all been an incredibly vivid dream, but the feeling of intense relief and the powerful lesson inside his heart were 100% real. The word relief means a warm, happy feeling that you get when something bad or scary has ended or did not happen. Let's look at the grammar rule used in this sentence. The morning sun was shining through his window. This is the past continuous tense, was, where plus verbing. We use it to describe a background action that was happening at a specific moment in the past when something else occurred. Daniel looked at his desk and saw his English textbooks resting under a thick layer of dust. He remembered the terrifying paralysis he felt in his dream, and he realized that if he kept studying silently without ever using his mouth, that nightmare would eventually become his real future. He understood that reading and writing were simply not enough. To actually speak English fluently, you must practice speaking it out loud every single day. Instead of picking up his phone to lazily scroll through social media, Daniel walked straight to his mirror. He looked at his reflection, smiled with complete determination, and began to describe his entire dream out loud in English. The word determination means the quality of having a strong, unbreakable mind to do something, even if it is very difficult. Notice our final grammar point here. Instead of picking up his phone, he walked to the mirror. As we learned before, after the phrase instead of, we must use a verb with ing to show that we are choosing one positive action over a bad habit. Daniel spoke for 10 whole minutes, mispronouncing some words but never stopping. He committed to making his English a living, breathing muscle from that exact moment forward. And that brings us to the very end of our journey today. What an incredible lesson for all of us. Daniel learned the hard way that you cannot learn to swim by just reading a book about water. You have to jump in. If you want to speak English fluently, you must open your mouth and speak it every single day, even if you make mistakes. Now I have a challenge for you. Leave a comment below this video entirely in English and tell me, what did you do this morning? Don't worry about mistakes, just practice. Keep speaking, keep pushing forward, and never give up. I am Leo, and I will see you in our next story. Stay strong, everyone.